He thought he'd get away with it. But what they didn't see coming was how far I was willing to go when someone messed with my family. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's carefully planned. And when it hits like an avalanche. This story will speak straight to your soul. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me because what you're about to hear is the kind of revenge that turns pain into power. Way back in the early 2000s, I was what you might call a regular guy. 2 little kids. A wife I thought I could trust. A simple, suburban life. But beneath that surface, a rot was growing. My sons were just 4 and 6, bright little things always talking about their day. Lately, they kept mentioning spending time at their grandparents' house, my wife's parents. It struck me as odd. They lived 90 minutes away, yet she was taking them there multiple times a week while she wasn't working at her part-time job. And when I asked her why, she shrugged it off. Lied badly. I remember the way her voice cracked, how she looked away when I pressed. Something inside me twisted. The feeling of knowing, but not knowing enough. So I started tracking her car mileage. Week after week, those numbers didn't lie, an extra 400 miles every week. My gut clenched. There was something real, something ugly. One evening I sat down at the computer. There, taped beside the monitor, was her AOL password. Just sitting there. Temptation isn't always a roar. Sometimes it's a whisper. And this one whispered, "Look." So I did. I opened her email. There it was, message after message between her and her college BFF. And the words burned. They joked. They laughed. They talked openly about how she'd been sleeping with an old high school boyfriend. But what really hit me? She was mocking his wife. Saying she'd let herself go after having kids. Calling her boring. A woman she didn't even know, laughed about like a punchline. I printed the emails. Held them in shaking hands. It wasn't just betrayal. It was cruel. And it was intent Iona. I could have confronted her right there. Screamed. Threw things. But I didn't. Because I knew one thing. I wasn't going to explode. I was going to dismantle. A close friend of mine, a cop, gave me the number of a retired officer turned private investigator. Call Ron, he said. And I did. Ron was the kind of guy who didn't need to say much. Just listened. Took notes. And then delivered. I gave him the emails. The timeline. Her schedule. He came back with a full report. Dates. Times. Photos. She'd been dropping our kids off with her parents. Then meeting up with this guy for lunch. After that, straight to a sleazy motel. Couple hours later, she'd grab the kids and come home like nothing had happened. That woman kissed our children goodnight after sleeping with another man. But it wasn't just her I wanted. I needed to know more about him. Ron dug deep. His name? Bob. Married. 3 kids. And, get this, he worked as VP of sales at his father-in-law's company. That little detail? Gold. I met with my divorce lawyer. Told them everything. And while infidelity didn't hold legal weight in our state, I had a different plan. I asked Ron to print a few more copies of his report. One of those copies wasn't for me. It was for Bob's wife. The day my wife got served her divorce papers at work, Ron knocked on Bob's wife's front door. She opened it. He handed her the folder. Her eyes scanned the pages. And everything changed. Bob's wife? Oh, she didn't just cry. She erased him. She cleaned out their bank account, took the kids, and left. By the time Bob got home, the house was empty. And when her father found out, Bob was fired on the spot. But wait, there's more. Her parents owned the house they lived in. Bob got evicted. When he tried to argue with her, it turned violent. Her brother broke his nose during a heated confrontation. Restraining orders were filed. There were criminal charges, even jail time. Bob's whole life. Burned. Gone. I looked him up a few years later. He'd vanished. No online trace. Just a whisper of a man who thought he was untouchable. As for me, I kept it clean. I never badmouthed my ex to the kids. Never raised my voice. Now that they're adults, I don't even speak to her unless it's about them. She's their mom. That's all she is to me now. I don't hate her. But I'll never forget. And I'll never regret burning Bob's life to the ground. Because sometimes, karma needs a little help. If this story made your blood boil and gave you goosebumps, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories where justice isn't just served, it's delivered with style. And tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen or heard about?